Going to have updates about Element X from David, Danielle, and Gaëlle. And a quick reminder to people who are watching online, you can ask for questions in the Lynn Conway room, and then I will relay that to this team, and then they will answer it to you. To you now.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. Welcome to Element X on web. I'm going to press the next arrow and hope that the slides change, but I can't see this, so you have to let me know. Smile. Did it work? All right, okay, cool. All right, so hi, my name is Danielle. I'm a product manager at Element. Today we'll be talking about Element X Web. This is David, an engineering manager at Element, and Gaëlle, a product designer at Element. So we're really glad to be here today. Together, we're a triad team, and we work with our internal web team and web folks at work to provide the community and pro versions of Element Web. So who is Element? We build and sell sovereign, secure communication and collaboration software. Our mission is to connect people safely and securely using our matrix expertise and the power of that open standard that we all know today. So the agenda, we'll talk about Element Web. We'll talk about Element Web X, Element X Web. I always get those the wrong way around. Element X Web, our philosophies, and how we plan to do that and what we plan on doing next. So let's get into it. I'm sure we're all here familiar with Element Web. We also have a desktop version, and we also have a pro version. I'm really hoping the animations worked. Perfect, okay. I'm getting some thumbs up, thank you. So first, what is Element X? Element X is Element's next-gen apps, and the success that we've seen on Element X Mobile is the reliance and focus on 4 main qualities. The main qualities: familiar, simple, reliable, and fast. And this is our mantra internally. Everything we do, we try and come back to these 4 qualities with the objectives of focusing on high-quality user experience to inspire confidence and trust, being familiar, being that recognizable, comfortable place, and providing stability both in your product design and in the technology and the reliance on that. As a product manager, the most asked question I get is, what is your roadmap? And it's, as everybody knows, that's always very hard to say. And the approach we take at Element Web is instead to go with phases. We think about phases in order to have focus. And each phase includes that clear customer and user experience, the performance, the reliability, and making sure that we're building something that is built for the future. It has the highest impact changes we can bring, and then we also have a real focus on accessibility as well. So with that, our roadmap, or our phases, this is where we have been and where we are going next, and both David and Gaëlle will talk us through some of the later sections. But the first phase is a fresh start for Element Web, bringing it in line with Element X on mobile, making it look cleaner, crisper. You've seen that with the recent changes to the room list. We've also started the team on improving the timeline and making sure that's really reliable and really fast, improving our module API, adding things like Content Scanner to bring Element Pro to market. And in future, we plan on approaching user statuses, notifications, an activity center, and just keep growing and growing and growing. So with that, I'll pass to David.
Thanks very much, Danielle. So I'm going to introduce a little bit about the journey we're on towards Element X Web. Most of our team kind of came together about 2 years ago. Some of you in here a bit, on the team a bit longer than that, but around 2 years ago. And we inherited one of the oldest kind of active code bases in Element. It's now over 10 years old. It's one of the most feature-rich, having led the way in features like spaces and threads. So over that period of time, there's definitely accrued some debt, whether that be technical, product, or design debt. For the first year or so, the team got to know each other. We got to know the product. We got to know the code, and also learn more about our users and their needs. Then about this time last year, when EX Mobile was being launched here at, or not here, but at the Matrix conference, we started to put together our learnings from that first year and to form a vision for what Element X on web would be. Danielle's already kind of shared with you about the qualities and the phases of that journey. But I'm going to kind of share a little bit where we are now and how we're going to get that Element X-like experience in the future. So how are we going to get there? Simple answer is piece by piece. Our plan is to kind of break up Element Web into its component parts, upgrade each of the pieces, and then put it back together again. We've decided not to do like a grand rewrite on Element Web. There's an opportunity to continue to deliver user value while we make some of those foundational changes and bring us from where we are now to where we want to be in kind of an incremental fashion by visiting the product kind of piece by piece and striving for the qualities that Danielle mentioned. And they are familiar. So something that is comfortable or sparks a generous sense of warmth. Our work on the right panel is kind of where some of this started. This is kind of like a pre-phase to the Element Web phases where we were kind of in an experimental phase before we had started right into the Element X Web phase plan. It's one of the first areas where we applied our design system, Compound, which is our shared language for our products that provides guiding principles, styles, and UI components to build with. Accessibility is also something we're looking to improve, both in what Compound provides and then also in each of the features that we build. It's also the first feature where we started to experiment with a new technical architecture, and we ultimately settled on MVVM as the architecture, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that gives us shortly. Then the first phase of the Element WebX plan, again, we look to bring all of the qualities to each of the features and the pieces that we touch, but in particular, maybe simple is one that kind of we tried to that's maybe stood out for this particular feature. So simple as in being easy to use and understand. The new room list was the first phase. We launched it recently. It brings more consistent experience with Element X Mobile, with the filters, notification decorations. However, we're not finished on the implementation. We're still working on it. There's still more to do, and Gaëlle will share a little bit more about that later. On the technical side, we moved to a new third-party virtualized list for the room list. It gives us kind of like faster scrolling, more efficient memory usage, and we also focused a good bit on accessibility improvements, like improved keyboard navigation. So for people that have accessible needs, it's quicker to jump to different parts of the list using the keyboard. This was the first feature we built with fully end-to-end, I suppose, with our new architecture MVVM as well. Then in terms of the qualities of reliable and fast, we want it to be really functional. This next phase is a sort of timeline 2.0, which is we've kind of largely getting to the end of the first phase. Timeline 2.0 is in the second phase, and you can see here we're kind of systematically moving through the app, trying to improve the pieces as we go. We wanted the timeline to be really functional, featureful, but also really performant, so people can get to their messages when they need to. But the key here also is reliably, as the timeline is so central, I think, to the experience of a chat app. We want it to be consistently good in quality and performance for it to be trusted. Just touching a little bit then on that architecture, and how it helps us attain some of those Element X qualities. The MVVM architecture is what we landed on, and yeah, just kind of briefly touch on that. On the left is kind of a representation of what our old code might look like. The business logic, presentation logic, and view logic are all kind of mangled in together on the left-hand side, and then as we move to the new architecture, there's like a good separation of concerns for each of those pieces of code, and they've been separated out. And yeah, I'll briefly touch on kind of what that gives us. So it helps us write better quality unit tests and ones that are easier to write. So for each of the components that we've now split out separately, the model, the view model, and the view. These can be tested in isolation by mocking the other components. So as in the diagram here, we can mock the view model to test the mock the model to test the view model independently, and mock the view model to test the view in isolation. In a similar way, having now decoupled that presentation logic and model or business logic from the view, it's now easier to render those views just with simple data and render all the different states for those views. So you have loading states, error states, and what we've done, similar to what we did in the compound library, is started to use Storybook within Element Web while developing these components. And it kind of speeds up development. We don't have to wait for Element Web to load because it takes a while these days, and also allows us to do automated visual regression testing across all of those different views. So we have the views in the different states. If there's a bug that causes an unintended visual defect, we can catch that during development before it's actually merged. So yeah, these are a couple of ways that the architecture is helping that kind of reliability quality. In terms of the fast quality, there are a number of things that are going to give us that kind of snappy and quick experience that we're looking for in the application. Some of those will be technical, some of those might be design as well. The process of moving to the MVVM architecture itself has kind of helped us a little bit of performance as well, removing some like unnecessary state transitions or helping us improve how we handle the life cycles of objects within the system to improve memory management. But one of the things that will really help the application feel faster in the future is probably the use of the Rust SDK. So through the process of upgrading each component of the application to MVVM, it's going to help us achieve that. You can see here the top part of that jigsaw, which is the model or the business logic, is generally is fulfilled by our SDK. So it's the JS SDK that we use at the moment in Element Web. But we'd like to move to the Rust SDK. So in separating that out, it makes it easier to kind of switch out that top piece. So once we've moved everything over, it'll be much easier to kind of place in the Rust SDK and switch it out. So what does that Rust SDK give us? It's the same engine that drives the mobile apps, so it'll give us a consistent feel. It'll also give us that kind of instant login and instant launch that we get from simplified sliding sync. This memory improvement is probably a bit taken with a bit of pinch of salt. We have a next generation Aurora client that we're using. It's highly experimental at the moment, but we do have the Rust SDK running in the browser, and I'll demo that shortly. But there's a really large memory improvement. Granted, we haven't added all the features yet, but definitely should help. And also an improved storage layer on the Rust SDK, more secure. Yep, as I said, I'll demo that shortly. Since creating a bunch of these new view components, which are now decoupled from the rest of the view model and model code, we can now package up these as shared components in an NPM package, and this allows us to bring the same experience to same components and experience across our product line, contributing to that kind of familiar quality. So we can use them in Element Web, we can use them in the admin console, we could try and use them in our new experimental app as we build that out. And we could also use them in Element Web modules, and I'm going to just touch on what they are now. So yeah, Element Web modules and our new CI pipeline are what give us the ability to generate different editions of the same application. But each one customized with a different configuration and different modules. Crucially, this allows us to maintain multiple editions of the same application, but from the same code base. So much more maintainable than having to kind of fork. Within our CI pipeline, we also verify the quality of each module with automated tests. So each of our tests, or each of the PORs that we submit to Element Web, we run downstream automated tests on the modules, so we have confidence that when we go and release any of the particular editions, they're going to come with the same quality that we get from the base client. Yep, so you can see on the left we have Element Web Community Edition, which at the moment doesn't have any modules. That's kind of that base client. In the center we have our Element Web Pro client, which comes like comes with modules like the content scanner for verifying media uploads or free of viruses. And for more on Element X and for more on Element Pro, you can see the Element X and Pro updates talk at 4 p.m. today by the mobile team. Also on the right-hand side, we can have variants or additions of the application for self-branded apps, so one-off apps. And one example of that is the OpenDesk app that we have. Which again, can provide different experiences. Where is my missing? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so here is an example of the OpenDesk, or one of the modules that we use with the OpenDesk application. It's a new banner module that provides like a totally custom top navigation across the OpenDesk suite. And just one way that a module can customize the experience of Element Web running. This is another example, and this is multi-room. So we have for a particular customer. It's not a feature we'd want in the main experience of the app, but it's very useful for certain use cases, and they can be built into those self-branded apps. And yeah, as you can see in this one, it kind of allows you to quite deeply customize the experience, adding a custom entry point over on the left-hand side for the grid view, and basically a view that can take over the whole of the screen. In this case, for this use case, it allows you to kind of add or remove rooms from the grid, drag to reorder and position them, and resize them however fits your needs. Yeah, and you can also see at the end of it, there was a picture or a section where we show the add and removing of rooms, and that's actually using our shared components at the moment. So we're using the same UI components for add and removing rooms as we are for our invite dialog in Element Web. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick demo now. So they're the kind of updates we've made to each piece of the puzzle so far. Now I'm going to show you maybe a glimpse of what the future might look like. It's still a very, as I said, experimental app, but we hope as we move through the Element Web app and generate those upgraded pieces, we can start putting them into this new experience so that hopefully it comes up to the same level of features and experience of the Element app, but with some improvements. So I'll just switch over here. Cool. This is the Aurora application. Only a few things to demo really. I'll reload it there. If you saw that, it's super quick. That is running locally on my machine, but equally if you run it on matrix.org, you can log in pretty instantly versus my Element Web client, which can take minutes to log in on matrix.org. So yeah, because it's based on the Rust SDK, it's super quick to launch and log in. There's some other advantages of the Rust SDK. Again, most of the things in here are just kind of proof of concept things that we've built, but you can see here we've added multi-account, which the Rust SDK supports, so you can quickly switch to another account. We have, as you can see, we've started to bring in some of the pieces that I talked about, so the new aspects of the new room list are kind of reused here. You can go through your favorites. So we can jump into a room, send messages. Filter room members. And what else was I going to show? Something else? I can't remember. But yeah, that's kind of it. Something that's still pretty bare and pretty new, but offers kind of a much quicker experience at the moment as it's based on the Rust SDK. Yep. And I think Gaëlle then is going to talk to you about what comes after this, the vision for going forward. Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Oops. Okay, so the vision for Element X Web. Designing a vision for Element X Web is about understanding the current state of the platform. And just like how David has been presenting it throughout, with like this analogy of the jigsaw, I think it's very much applicable as well to the overall experience of Element X Web and how we can perceive it and how we are attacking it in terms of improvement. So currently in Element Web, we have a lot of nice pieces, but we also have pieces that need love and some things that are also missing. So in order to set up a vision for the Element X Web, we need to put in place a process. And the process was to obviously identify all those UX debts that we had throughout the app, but also just making sure that we don't create new problems on existing problematic area. As well, identify what are the most problematic areas over others so we can prioritize. And integrate the feedback that we've been receiving from various sources, whether it's from community members or clients. And I thank everybody as well for bringing this information to us, because it's really helping us to move forward in the right direction, because we don't design for ourselves, we design for you guys and for our users. So to integrate that feedback, whether it's pain points or aspirations. The other things that we needed to do is to also understand the competition that we have. It's a large market in messaging apps, and understand who are our competitors, what is the target, what can we learn from, but also how we can still be unique. And lastly, the other element that was important to take into consideration for setting up a vision, as David and Danielle mentioned, was to integrate Compound, which is our design system and our theme, which will then bring up the level of accessibility that we all want for Element Web. But also to ensure that we have visual parity with Element X on mobile. I was telling you about the aspirations. The aspirations that we collected from various amounts of feedback and different sources, as I was saying, help us to see how the platform is going to evolve in the longer term. So we can create a wide overview picture of how it's going to look like. And the things that kept coming back, in fact, I was having a conversation yesterday with some other folks, and they were just validating those things, so it's good to hear. But the things that kept coming back was about obviously making sure that Element is familiar, easy to use. Things like calendar integration and scheduled meeting is also important for people. The addition of a user directory, as well as the addition of a file sharing capability. And also in the more professional setup, to be able to collaborate with external parties and to be able to clearly identify who they are. And for also search to be more efficient. So these are the core aspirations. There's much more than that, but these are the building blocks for how it's going to look like in the long term. So what does it mean on the UI? So this is the latest version of the iteration. By the way, everything that you're going to see here is in progress. So a lot of things are going to change probably. We iterate constantly. We really care about feedback. We consider this. So what does it mean? Globally, if you look at the interface on the sidebar, you'll see that we now have a dedicated area for chats. We have the dedicated area for spaces, but we're also going to introduce an area for user directory. In fact, I'm going to move. user directory, an activity center we're going to have, a proper dedicated area for apps and integrations. And I was telling you also about the meetings and calendar integration. That's the little camera icon that you see on the left. And spaces are remaining for now. We have some questions on this aspect, but I'm going to delve into that in a moment. And as you see at the top, we have a global search bar as well. So that's the overview, more longer term aspiration. Now, short to medium term, we're tackling very specific topics. First one is spaces. And when I was interviewing people, a lot of things came back, and those are the themes. And the themes are: people don't understand what a space is, people struggle to find spaces home, opening and closing subspaces is tedious, and there's a missed opportunity to collaborate with external partners. So some of those post-its are themes, but there's been much more. So how is it developing based on this feedback? We are planning to have a much more simple view of spaces, as you can see, with a home for your organization, whether you're an organization or a community. By the way, in this UI, you see that it's Element Pro, but there will be a version for Element Community in which you will find a very similar experience. But when you land there, you can clearly see and identify with your organization. You know what it is about. You know who is populating your organization. You know how many spaces there are. So you know, and you feel at home really, and you know which department they are in this specific organization, or if you're looking for specific themes, you can go and browse there. And there's a simple card system, scrollable. And the idea is also to be able to pin, as you wish, the space that most interests you based on your workflow or how you're dealing with specific groups. The other little addition is, as I was saying earlier, based on the pain point, the ability to clearly identify external teams. So that will be also powerful. And you can imagine that at some point you might want to collaborate with external partners, and being able to pin it on the side, talk to them, and then remove it will be quite powerful. But again, this is work in progress. And we'll see how this becomes. The other area of focus is the room list, and David kind of touched on this aspect earlier. Some of the pain points that were coming back was the fact that there is a lack of filters, and that requires a lot of scrolling. That notifications were lost as well for people, and it was difficult to see relevant content. And additionally, people were not able to find how to create a new chat. So again, we want to make things familiar for people. We want to make things simple, so they can quickly just do the things that they want to do, which is to find a chat, whether it's a DM or a room, be able to quickly filter, being on top of the notification very easily. And for that, we've put in place as a first phase the integration of filters. It is growing into potentials of having sections, and we're working with clients to build that. So that's the state of how it is. So it's gonna grow and it's gonna develop as well. The last part of focus that I'm going to present is around the ability to manage your activity and your messages properly. So on this topic, we've had a few pain points, such as the fact that people cannot keep track of important messages, that it requires a lot of mental effort to keep track of messages. And threads are also not necessarily relevant to them. That's a problem. And notifications could be clearer. For that, the vision is to have a center for all your activity that is important to you. as an activity center with, so you'll see on the UI, you have 4 tabs. The all regroups mentions, threads, and invites. So you can clearly identify what is really important to you, and things don't get lost anymore. Special mention in this UI, you will see that we have the threads selected. Our ambition is also to develop threads capabilities, so we have participation in place. So only the content that is relevant to you appears. So everything that you started, you actively participate into or follow as well, is going to be brought back to you. And that is going to make the experience much more powerful. And this is it. Again, as I said before, it's important to gather feedback. It's important that you guys collaborate with us. We can really make this product so much better by everyone's participation. So we'll be there at the booth, at the Element booth. Otherwise, you can also scan the QR code and provide feedback. Thank you.
Thank you for the talk. There's a bunch of feedback, mostly some good stuff, saying like the new room list is really fast, but I will let you read that by yourself. There are a few questions as well. The first question is, can we expect to see more concrete room categorization options, that is being able to unrecurse spaces or hide rooms from spaces from the all rooms list?
Is this working? I will take that question as feedback, and we'll absolutely kind of start working together on this.
Yep, thank you. And I think this is the last question on the online thing. How about security for this new version? Is it 100% open source? And for programming language, why not 100% Rust?
So, could you repeat the start of the question again?
I lost it. How about security for this version? Is it 100% open source? And for programming language, why not 100% Rust?
So yeah, it's the same client. Like we're not changing to a brand new client. We're building on top of Element Web, which is all open source. And in terms of why not 100% Rust? I think that the TypeScript language and the React components that we use as on the front end framework kind of works well and solves the problems well and works well with that MVVM architecture that we've worked through. So yeah, continuing to use that, but taking advantage of the engine that drives it, being the Rust SDK is kind of the path we're taking. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone else in this room have questions? Please hold the mic close to you.
Hi. Do you have a timeline when the switch to the Rust SDK will happen for the main app?
I suppose not. It's not immediate. Like you said there, it's pretty fresh. But as we go through, like I suppose we've been pretty much through phase 1 and we're on phase 2. You can see as I was going through the sections of the app, we need to hit all those different sections before it all becomes, I suppose, MVVM'd and those components are reusable. At that point, it gets much easier to switch it out. So I suppose we're getting into phase 2 of maybe 4 phases. So it's definitely quarters away. It's not going to be really soon.
Okay, we will ask again at a later time.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We have 17 more minutes, so a lot of time. No. One more?
Hi, very nice talk. This is, I guess, more of a comment in response to that other question about 100% Rust. As someone who works on Rust app dev as my main daily job, and an implementer of a client in 100% Rust, it's not that easy. So whoever asked that, they should know that the Rust app dev world, and that includes web dev, is not quite there yet. So I don't think that you guys are making a mistake necessarily by pursuing just the underlying systems and backend code being in Rust. Aside from that, yeah, I just want to say I'm excited for the new changes to Element. Looks good.
Thanks. And there's more Rust related things I suppose we're going to continue to experiment with. We use Electron for our desktop application. We're looking at things like Tori, where we can do more of the application on the Rust side as well, and see what that can bring us. But we're still in a very early experimental phase of figuring out what that might look like. So.
Great. Yeah, we should chat. I host an Aptiv, organization sort of, and we work with Tori, Dioxys, Leptos, all these folks. So yeah.
Sounds great. Cheers.
I have 2 more online questions. Can you clarify what is happening to the spaces in the left sidebar?
This is actually going to be further clarified. As I said, everything that you have seen is work in progress. We need to gather more feedback on this specific topic, essentially.
Perfect, thank you. And the second one is, will we have accessibility-related keyboard shortcuts to get a bird's-eye view of the UI, like we have F6 in VS Code?
Yeah, I'd be interested in digging into exactly what they mean by that. We're improving definitely aspects of the keyboard navigation as we go, like I said, on those lists. And we're also going to try and bring that improved keyboard navigation to the timeline. At the moment, it's very tedious to kind of navigate the timeline. It goes through all the elements versus being able to skip to specific parts. So that's one thing we're going to do. I'd be interested in digging into what they meant by that kind of bird's eye view. Yeah.
I think their main question was, will there be accessibility-related keyboard shortcuts?
Yeah, there is, and we're improving them all the time. So I'd be interested in which ones.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions in the room? Two more.
So I heard that we'll have like user status and like online, offline, present improvement. So I want to hear from this. What are the roadmap and like improvement plan for this?
Yeah, as Gaëlle mentioned, a lot of the phases that are coming up are still in flux. So I know presence means something to the Matrix community, and that's not directly what we talk about when we reference user status, but we recognize that there's a need to show when somebody is maybe on a call or if they're on vacation, and how that impacts your notifications as an individual and how you kind of manage and triage the messages that are coming in. So if you have thoughts, scan the QR code, come and chat to us. We're definitely on the data gathering part of that project and what that looks like.
Thank you.
Hi, you talked about the module API, or the ability to kind of plug out bits of the jigsaw puzzle as you had it there. Could you give us some more examples of kind of types of modules that are possible? And also, if I'm a commercial customer of Element, what kind of support do I get for that? Can I write my own modules, or is it only modules that you've written? And also, thirdly, where there's a question about the open source, is like, are all of your modules open source? Do you have proprietary ones? How does that work from a licensing point of view? Am I dragged into an AGPL hell if I write my own modules, for example?
So the module API is all open source. We do have proprietary private modules, which are kind of concrete implementations of those modules to provide bits of features like a content scanner for Element Pro as a private module. The module API is AGPL, also like the rest of the application, and it's what I would say is it's very experimental. We've had kind of iterations of it in the past, but we've only really just had the latest iteration in the last few months. So it's still very much in flux and changing quite a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Another online question. Well, it was answered 5 seconds ago. Never mind. I'm just relaying what I see in the chat. Any other questions?
I don't know if my question about Element Core is relevant here, but I want to know about the PIP view. Currently, if the current core is like the PIP view is limited within the app, which is not kind of like convenient because people want to have the conference and at the same time they can use the other apps. And during that the pip view, for example, the legacy core is only limited within the app, and it's not actually convenient. And how the Element X gonna solve this problem? Do you have any plan to improve that in the Element core?
You mean to pop it out so you can maintain the kind of two views side by side?
Yeah, I understand that. But for example, Google Meet, they have like a pip view, which you can actually use globally within the computer. It's not just limited to the app. So do we have any plan to make it happen like that? Because it's kind of very, very needed feature for me, because as many users too, because if they use a conference and long conference, they cannot just stick with Element for like 100% of the time. So I think it's quite a important, like, it's small but important feature, I would say.
Yeah, I think we agree.
Yeah, I think that's what you meant by the pop out, so that you can maintain it in a separate window is something we would like to do.
In the computer, not in the app.
In a separate browser window, yeah.
Another online question. Will the module API be able to add custom event rendering? That is. Hafi says it already does it.
Hi, a small question about room widgets. Are room widgets going to be to Instinct completely, or do you have plans for it in the future?
Danielle.
We have widgets in phase 5 or 6, so we've really just started the conversation on what they will grow to be. There's no current plans to change what they are today. Does that answer your question?
Another online question. Will we get audio calls as well as video calls? Having to turn off video manually every time is kind of a deal breaker.
Yes, I recommend watching Florian and team talk about Element Call yesterday. I think the designs there kind of cover this, but yes.
Perfect, thank you. Any other questions? No. Yes.
Maybe easy question. Are widgets also going to come to like Element X on the phone, or like you can also run Element X on the desktop, or is it going to stay in the web desktop version?
I will plug my colleague's talk for Element X mobile this afternoon. But great question. Thank you.
Questions? Tick, tick 1. Tick, tick 2. Tick, tick 3. Thank you then. I will ask for you to give an applaud to the 3 great speakers here.